All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division where Showtime's Shawn Porter seems to have changed his mind about two adversaries of his, specifically Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, as well. The same could be said for his manager, father trainer, Shawn Porter. Let's talk about how they say that Errol Spence Jr. is now the smarter fighter. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division where we are just going to have a short conversation about what an expert in the field of Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford had to say, and that is Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter. And I'm telling you, man, it's real interesting that people are changing their tunes now that this fight doesn't look like it's going to happen. Now, before I get into that, though, let me welcome back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also, if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, let me say thank you so much for your continued support to the channel, and especially the super thanks crew out there, Barbara D, Mr. Pragmatic, Matty Yole, John Bowie. Thank you guys so much for supporting in the super thanks of videos like this. It really does go a long way, especially during these very dry times in boxing, to keep the conversation going. So thank you guys so much for being consistent sponsors of the channel. But let's get into this. Man, people are changing their tune now that this fight ain't taking place. So, like, it's making me wonder, man, like, what do people really think? Because I have a hard time believing people are switching up like this for just because they're becoming enlightened. But let me go through what I'm talking about. And that is Errol Spence Jr., as you know, the WBC, WBA, and IBF welterweight champion, was supposed to fight Terence Crawford, who was the WBO champion at welterweight, in a fight for the undisputed title. However, they did not, that fight did not come to fruition for whatever reason. But whatever reason, it did not come through. And so people's predictions for the fights and all that stuff were for naught. However, being the true fan of the welterweight division that I am, I'm still paying attention to what everybody's saying. And let me tell you, certain cats have changed their tune a good amount since this fight it did not take place. And the people that it sound like they're changing their tune, and you can correct me in the comment section if you understood what they were saying differently than I did. That's not, you know, an impossible thing to happen. But Shawn Porter and his father, Kenny Porter, have been asked several times about Errol Spence Jr. as a fighter and Terence Crawford as a fighter. Now, before I tell you exactly what they said, please recall that in the middle of all of this talk going on about Errol and Terence fighting, there was a Hall of Fame induction ceremony for some of the best fighters that I've seen fight in my lifetime. James Toney was inducted. Bernard Hopkins was inducted. Andre Ward was inducted. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was inducted. I think Miguel Cotto was inducted. It was just an amazing, induction ceremony. And part of that was because I think they were not able to do it the year before because of COVID or something like that. But there are a lot of predictions that were made out of that particular convention, and almost all of them picked Terence Crawford for one reason or another, right? However, Shawn Porter was somebody who seemed to me that was leaning towards Terence Crawford in that fight, that has just said something recently that was really striking. And he said, look, you know, I had to reevaluate, and I'm paraphrasing, reevaluate Errol Spence Jr. and how it was when I fought him. And he said, look, when I fought Errol, I really thought that I was a step ahead of him as far as ring IQ that, I really felt like the entire fight, I was a step ahead. But then he said, look, but watching after that, it's been 3 years or so after watching that, the Danny Garcia fight and watching the Yordenis Ugas fight, it seemed to me that Errol Spence Jr. has gotten a lot smarter in the ring. So, you take that along with the fact that they also looks like he's a better fighter in the ring. Then he's saying, look, man, I may have to reevaluate what's going on with him and Terence Crawford. Now, for me, and I think people have said it, like a lot of people said it at that time, that Errol Spence Jr., I think he's always been a very intelligent fighter. I just think that specifically for Shawn Porter, that he went on about a mission with Shawn Porter in trying to beat up Shawn Porter. And he really wanted to go for the knockout against Shawn Porter and stop him and beat him up. That seems like what he really wanted to do. Because in the fight before, if you recall, against Mikey Garcia, Errol Spence Jr. said after that fight, like, look, man, skip all this boxing. I'm going back to bulldozing people, right? Use the N-word instead of people, but bulldozing people, right? So I think that that's pretty much what happened with him in the Shawn Porter fight, was that he was really looking to try to get Shawn Porter out of there. But when you saw him fight with Danny Garcia coming off that accident, really didn't have any choice but to fight in a more intelligent fashion, by that I mean somebody that is boxing and focusing on hitting and not getting hit, right? Which is the name of the game in boxing, because he, according to himself, was only about, I think he said he was only about 80% of as far as his physical conditioning coming off that, horrendous car accident. Now, also, if you haven't heard, Shawn Porter's father was, and I'm not going to quote specifically what he said, but the general tone of it was that he thought that Errol was going to be able to beat Terence Crawford, that Errol would beat Terence Crawford. Now, this is the thing that I think takes place. And that's why I told you guys the story about the predictions of Terence Crawford in the Hall of Fame fight. I think a lot of times with boxers, when they make predictions off fights, they are really talking about who they're supporting. And not all the time are they really talking about who they think is going to win the fight. Because you have, like, take, for example, when Andre Ward was asked just recently about who he thought was going to win between David Benavidez and Caleb Plant, he said, look, man, I'm riding with Caleb Plant. Oh, Caleb Plant all day. That's my guy. See, that's what I think a lot of people are doing when they're picking these fights. And if you've noticed, like guys like I'm not going to say particular professional fighters' names, but I've spoken to several professional fighters. One guy particularly is definitely going to be a Hall of Fame level fighter that basically said, look, man, when I support this certain fighter, look, this particular fighter's always supported me. He's come to my fights. He's been in the locker room, came to the locker room, supporting me ahead of the fight, right? And, has always been very supportive of me. So when I see him fight, I'm going to support him as well. And that has a lot to do with why certain fighters pick fighters, because of friendships. And you know how it is. You got to give people positive vibes. You're not going to be out there when a guy's about to be, get into a fight against somebody, they can't really afford to have any doubt. So, you're definitely not going to be in somebody's corner giving them doubt, affecting their mentality. And I think that had a lot to do with what Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter were saying at the time that those fights were going to be made. Well, there's actually a chance for that fight to be made. And then once the fight was gone, I think these guys, they're coming back like, okay, look, man, this is kind of a little bit more of what I really think. Not saying that people are not honestly picking Terence Crawford to win, but that's the only reason I could really get between, why people would shift their opinions like that after the fact. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. I thought an interesting boxing conversation to have with you guys. Please let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section. This channel's not always going to be about breaking news, this, that, and the other stuff, right? Sometimes it's like, hey, man, I want to chop it up with you about boxing and get your thoughts on a particular topic. So put that in the comment section if you wouldn't mind. I will tell you, though, if you call me biased, I'm throwing you out. It's just, the comment section is really not for children. If you want to just tell me what you think and why you don't think Why you disagree, I'm 100% cool with that. But the name calling, it's really not very helpful. Doesn't really help anybody in the conversations that they're having. So anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.